Hello and welcome to the Marketing Woman podcast. I'm your host, ANUSHA, and I'm so excited to have you here. Are you looking to move into marketing or want to learn marketing from scratch? We discuss all things marketing, analytics, business, personal branding, and much more in a way any layman can understand. If you're new here, make sure to follow along and get on that email list by visiting anushakanan.com/email list. Follow at ANUSHA'RK on TikTok, tag us on your stories, would love to see that. And now let's dive in. In today's episode, we have Angelina Spiropoulos on the show. She is a dynamic real estate professional with strong foundation in marketing, and she's also from Suffolk University. She went to Suffolk University, and I think Angelina seamlessly transitioned from studying marketing to thriving in the real estate industry. And I'm super excited to hear from her. I'm pretty sure that we can learn a lot today about the real estate industry. So let's go and jump into the episode. Hey, Angelina, thank you for being on the show. Really appreciate you doing this. How are you?
Oh, yes. Thank you. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me. I am fantastic. The sun is shining and I can't complain. So how are you doing?
I'm good. Yeah, it's been a while since we've seen each other.
It's been a year.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Like we have a lot of things to chat about, I guess, right?
Yes, of course. I've been, following your career, obviously your podcast, your newsletter, everything. And it's all amazing. And I have so many questions to ask you.
I am ready. Thank you. I love the support and I love, I hope that I'm doing something right. So it's my
absolutely.
Insight.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, we can start off with how did you initially incorporate event marketing, which I know you went to, into your strategy in real estate?
Yeah. So I always loved going to events. That was something that I always genuinely enjoyed doing. I loved getting in front of people and I loved being able to connect with them in person. And in real estate, we luckily have a lot of different, avenues to kind of go down when it comes to hosting events and going to events. So that could range from, something like just hosting an open house, something smaller like that versus, panel discussions or traditional networking events or huge launch parties for buildings. I mean, the list goes on. There's so many different ways that you can approach hosting events. So the more I started to go to these events and really experience how much opportunity and variety was out there to, you can really take advantage of to get creative. I was like, what if I made this a real part of my strategy to, open up doors, attract new clients, and establish those strategic partnerships. So I decided to really make it a part of, my strategy. And I host a quarterly event as a result now. And usually what I do is I just have an objective of, who I want at this event. So what kind of person do I want to connect with for the event specifically in that moment? And then I host the event and then I stay on top of those attendees until they either turn into a client or until they refer me to a client. So it really, it's something special. And I think that it's a little overlooked in this industry. And I'm so happy that I got into it.
Wow, that sounds fantastic. Would you say, which kind of events would you say has been the most impactful when it comes to attracting potential customers?
Yeah. So I would say definitely the smaller the event, believe it or not, the better. I find that there's real strength and most impact behind an event that is filled with people that I can have, a conversation with each of them individually. I really like to make that genuine connection there, even if it means talking to them for 5 to 10 minutes. It's better than just a whole 500 people and I only got to talk to a quarter of them. Like that doesn't sound very impactful to me. So I would say definitely the smaller the better. And then also too, I love co-hosting events with people. So any kind of event where I'm co-hosting it with somebody else, I would say is always the way to go about doing it. Because not only is the weight not all on your shoulders, but I think that it attracts more people, first of all, too. And also, they have different approaches in the way that they want to market and host the event that is going to be different than mine. And I think that having that diversity there is very important, and it establishes, longer lasting results that really make a difference. And I think it really ties the whole experience together when you get other people that have your vision involved in everything.
That's amazing. So when you meet people during these events, do you like go up to them and ask them questions like, do you like make the initial contact, or is it like you convert them on spot? Has that ever happened before?
Oh, I actually, I would say the topic of real estate, of course, comes up in conversation in terms of them wanting to get my opinion on whether it's the market right now or what they should do. It's almost like a little mini buyer consultation that's very, very relaxed. But usually I try to avoid that talk like in a public event as much as I possibly can, just because I never want to come off salesy by any means. And I honestly, it makes my job a lot easier if I am able to just break the ice and get to know them on a personal level first before we talk about anything business related. I really want to get to know my clients because all of my clients, there are very few and far in between where, you know, I wouldn't want to be friends with one of my clients. I love my clients, and I think that, having that genuine desire to connect with them on that personal level at events is very important. So with that being said, a lot of times I will go up to them and strike up conversation, but I'll introduce myself first of all as the host. I think that that's only appropriate and professional. But I also will ask them, where are you coming from? How did you hear about this? Just little things like that. What do you do? Do you live around here? And just to get to know them. And then they start talking, and then I just take it from there. So very relaxed, nothing too stuffy or stiff. I don't like that approach. I think that in a relaxed setting like an event, and all of my events typically tend to be like that, nothing too. I'm not talking about a first time homebuyer seminar. I'm not talking about events like that. I'm talking about events that are, fun, that people really are enthusiastic and curious about. So with that, it should be fun. It should be light, nothing too heavy.
Amazing. Well, that sounds like doesn't even sound like a business conversation. It's just like, hey, catching up. How are you doing? Yeah.
Exactly.
So, but what would you say are the challenges though? Like, obviously there should be some. If not, wow, I'd love that career.
Yes, of course, right? So you know how I said strategic partnerships with, hosting with other partners. Like I think it it goes a really, really long way, and it is so worth putting in that work with other people, and it makes the process fun. However, I think collaborating with other people can also bring a lot of challenges because, like I said, everybody has a different way of working. We all know this. We've all been thrown into different teams before to get something done, whether it's a project in work, in school growing up. That's what we always had to learn how to do because it's a pain. And a lot of people usually don't like to do it because everybody executes in different ways, everybody works in different ways. And, it's always going to bring its challenges, I think. But that's why I think it's even more important to be strategic about who you choose to partner with. So going forward, what I like to do now, when I'm trying to figure out who to work with, I like to have a conversation with them to really set the expectations and, like more so just like set the scene for like how you envision the event to work and how you want to put everything together. And like I say, this is how I operate, and I want to know how you operate so we can see how we can make this work. Because I think, before you go any further, like establishing those boundaries is very important, just like in any relationship or partnership, like having those house rules, it's very important. And a lot of times it it makes or breaks what the outcome ends up being. If you have poor communication and if you can't set expectations right off the bat, you're probably not going to have a successful product or end result in any way. So it creates that transparency, and it's simply the professional thing to do. So that's what that's what I try to do to overcome that challenge. But it never gets easier, I would say, because people are people, but you have to learn how to work with them.
Right, absolutely. I think no matter which industry you're in, which job you're in, it's so difficult to always like try to figure out a way to work with people.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. When you're talking about like partnerships, do you use your personal brand to sort of assess like, or others' personal brand to assess like, hey, how are these people actually? Can I collaborate with them? Or do you get to know them? Or is it like just a brand? Like, hey, how's the brand visibility? How are they performing? How are they doing? How do they interact with people?
I would say it's definitely a little bit of both. I think that you can't just evaluate one over the other, because I value my personal brand greatly. So I don't think it would make much sense if I worked with somebody closely that didn't have those same values. If we're trying to, collaborate together and make something, we have to have that in common, because I just think that it's so vital to everything that I do. And if I'm considering to work with them, I would hope that they value it in the same way. Or sometimes it doesn't have to be in the exact same capacity, of course, but I would say it does need to all kind of align and make sense in some way so that we can get that flow going. I do, typically when I find people and their brands online, I mean, it's like a screening process. It's like Google. It's like how they said, make sure that when someone Googles your name, that's what it was like 10 to 15 years ago. That's what they would say. And now it's like, that's what personal branding is. Like, you need to make sure that all of that is tight and ready to go so that when somebody looks you up and considers collaborating with you, they want to make sure that you're worth collaborating with and it makes sense. So,
Absolutely. Yeah, I totally believe in that. One
yeah.
thing, like, let's talk about like personal branding because we're on the topic. How do you think you've used personal branding for your events and like collaborating with others? And so, like, how important do you think it is? I know you said that it's important, but how important do you think it is for your business?
Yeah. Oh my God, it's everything. I mean, I would say it helps people, you know, connect the dots of who I am online. And usually, like, a lot of people might find me first online, just like, you find anybody online first these days. I mean, it's rare to meet somebody in person and just like naturally, organically. I think that's great, but it's not exactly common anymore. So if I love the feeling of, if I'm showing up authentically through my brand online, in the same way that I'm showing up in person. And if people can have that experience via an event that I host, and they can say, like, huh, she's exactly how she is online. And I got to connect with her in this more intimate in person way. And now I feel like I know her even more on like a deeper level, and I can relate to her, and I can connect with her anytime I want now, whether it's for something real estate related, or if I need a restaurant recommendation, or if I need business advice or some opportunity. Like, oh, she's somebody that now it's like tattooed in their brain, because it's another way that I just touched them in like this really, really integrated way, I would say, that most people do not know how to execute very well. So I think it's everything. And as far as content goes, I would like to highlight this when it comes to, events and like shooting the content to promote, and then during and after, those are all equally as important. And I think a lot of people don't really realize that in its highest and best capacity. A lot of people are like, oh, let's promote the event and it'll be great. And maybe we can shoot some content during the event just to have it. And then they forget about it after the event is over. I think that it's actually, I mean, you should promote the event as much as you can before, but after, it should be even more. And I still struggle to do this, but I really try to make it a point as I keep doing these now, because it gives people FOMO. It makes people feel like, okay,
Yeah,
now I want to show up next
next
time. And
year.
like, oh my
Mhm.
gosh, I missed out. I want to know her now. Like that looked like a really fun event. Not forget about me. Like, oh my gosh, look at all these other people that showed up. I want to be around people like that. So it just creates this experience that, if I can be responsible for creating that community like that through my brand, I've done my job.
I absolutely agree with that because I feel like I've been on the FOMO side of it. I've missed so many events, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I can't believe I missed that. And that's definitely been that I've gone back to these events, and they've made a lot of money out of me. So I can assure you that this works. Yeah, absolutely. And I also feel like with the part where you said when someone meets you in person, they feel like, okay, I can talk to her about A, B, and C.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's how we met. Like we met on
Yeah.
a completely different, for just a completely different topic. And then we talk about a lot of other things as well, which I think
Exactly.
is because of personal branding. Yeah,
Hmm.
absolutely.
For sure.
Which way would you say like the future trends are going, especially with real estate and personal branding and then also event marketing? What do you
So
see?
for, real estate specifically, I think, as we continue to see millennials take up the majority of the first time home buyer pool today, I work with a lot of those people. And then Gen Z is obviously quickly following them, our generation. It's great. And, we're going to, with those two generations, especially Gen Z, but with both of them, I would say we're going to need to continue to get more and more creative with event marketing and how it intertwines with our brands, because it really needs to align and make an impact. The attention spans of these generations, I think, are only getting shorter, if that's even possible. And these generations, they go deep in like what they value more than ever, I would say. And having that intimate connection with them via something like an event, an experience like that, I think it's going to be vital. I think those first time homebuyer seminars, I think that those are going to fade out, because the reality is whatever is being discussed in those, agents and lenders, they are repurposing that content into TikToks that anybody can get at their disposal at any time. Why would they go out of their way to go to an icky seminar like where they're not even going to get to talk to the agent one on one? And I mean, they might, but they don't really know the agent anyway. So it's just kind of like, okay, they're probably going to want to find somebody online that they can really study them and see, oh, like this person is an expert. This person knows what they're talking about. They post this stuff all the time. Let me just reach out to them personally so I can have a one on one conversation. So events like that are not going to do the job that they once did before. So, I think that that's something to really look forward to. But along with that, I think that, you know, it's going to be events revolving around what the appeal of the agent is like really bringing to the table. I also, I like kind of what I was talking about earlier. I don't really like to talk about business that much at my events, because I like to build the relationship first to make the client feel most comfortable and like they can approach me and relate to me and feel comfortable telling me some of these personal things, because at the end of the day, real estate, it does get personal. We're talking about people's biggest life decision here, or one of the biggest life decisions that they're going to make. And things get personal because all of these other factors, get intertwined into the conversation. And that's why they call us part-time therapists too sometimes, because it's like we have to really go deep with our clients. And it's like, why would I not want to start off the relationship by getting personal, like as soon as possible, even if it just means to keep it as light as possible? Establishing that trust and comfort level is what these events really need to revolve around. I think that should have always been the main objective, but unfortunately, I don't think it has been. I think we're going in the right direction for the future, but and then on top of all of that, I think collaborating with local businesses is going to continue to be very prominent, just for really events across the board, not even necessarily real estate related. But I think that collaborating with local businesses is it's beneficial for all parties. It makes everything so much more fun and interesting, and a lot less cookie cutter. And it helps the personal brand of whatever the local business is too, because often if they're a smaller, company, they struggle with that. And if I'm able to help elevate a local business, like I would love to do that. So um, I think that that's another really big key component that will
Yeah.
get implemented. So yeah.
Yeah, I think it's great, and I also want to go back to something you were talking about, like how different type of content works for different generations. Which one
Yes.
would you say is working for Gen Z now and for millennials? Do you see anything like that?
So I would say, like, ironically enough, the educational content for Gen Z, I would say, is more impactful and gains more traction than millennials. I feel like millennials get more hooked on the entertainment side of things because I think that they have a little bit more patience than Gen Z does. And like they don't really care to like learn information like, instantly. But Gen Z, I feel like, is more cut to the chase. They're just like, okay, I want to get my information right now. I don't really care about the fluff. Like, let's just get to it. Whereas millennials, I feel like their eyes are a little bit more open. So the educational content, and another thing too, I don't know if this has any correlation. It might not, but with Gen Z and any generation younger than Gen Z, you know, they're getting a lot of their education today, not necessarily through a college degree anymore. Like people like that online education, whether they're getting it through a TikTok or whether they're getting it through an online course or whatever the case may be. It's a lot more common to find resources out there that are just like us, that where they're just like, okay, let me hear this person out. Whereas millennials are kind of like, okay, maybe like if you entertain me for a little bit through some property tour videos first, and then maybe like, it's more of a process. So that's my point of view.
Yeah, I think that's great because I don't know if I belong in a millennial range now because
It's
I
like
do like
borderline.
watching. Yeah, like I don't know where I belong. I'm just embarrassed
But
because
they change it. Like they keep changing the age ranges because I used to
I
think
know.
in the beginning that I was a millennial and now I'm like, no, I'm not. Yeah.
Yeah, because I usually like even when I'm renting places, I look at vlogs and I'm like, oh, they set up their house like this. It could look like that. And but I also am like, stop talking, just cut to the
Yep.
chase. So I'm like, where do I exactly belong? And how do you how do you determine? So this is why I was interested, like, and also curious to know how people look at it. And
Yep.
I agree with you there, where we're like, we don't want to learn, just keep learning and learning. We're like, okay, I've learned this. Now what? Now what's the solution? What are we gonna do about it? I
Mhm.
definitely see that too. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So I do want to ask you this. If someone is going to get into brand marketing or event marketing, does it have to be real estate? Or if they want to do something else, do you think the advice that you have for them will apply there? Is there like a broad advice that you have?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Just start. Like literally just jump in, and I would really, I mean, how I got into this was I just started to go to events. Like I just attended events. I showed up by myself and I still show up by myself to this day because I can't focus when I go with friends. Like I just show up by myself. I pay attention. I see the dynamic of how the event is run. I understand it. I analyze the promotion behind it. But I also too, I don't just go to real estate events. In fact, like I try to go to a lot of not real estate related events too, just to get that holistic view of like, okay, this is how other industries do it. So I would say anybody that's trying to tap into event marketing, don't just focus on one industry, even if it's not real estate, but just like literally just see what else is out there and what's going on. And not even necessarily business related either. I mean, they have so much out there and anything that you could imagine. Go to something that, if it's like a hobby that you're interested in, go to an event like that. And you never lose anything by attending events. Like there's never anything to lose. There's always something to gain, whether it's you meeting one new person that could be a really good contact, or if you just learn something from the actual content that's being presented to you and that you're experiencing. So I would say just literally jump into it and start. And it's not like it's this huge commitment. Like it's kind of just something that, you mess around with and go with the flow. So I don't see any reason why there should be stress around it. I think that it's fun. It's one of the most fun forms of marketing, in my opinion.
Yeah, just do it, Nike. Yeah, I love that. I love this. Yeah, I mean, that's really all I had for you. So for today, hope you found it useful. Please feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn or email me at tmw@anushakhan.com. Follow me on LinkedIn to never miss my journey, and I'll see you in the next episode. Peace.